Welcome to another MECH 1000 video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make isometric drawings. So isometric drawings, we've seen them before in our blueprint reading assignments. They sort of give the illusion of being three-dimensional. It allows us to see top, front, and the side of an object all at the same time, but they're not actual 3D models. They're still two-dimensional drawings. They're just drawn in such a way that it gives the illusion of a three-dimensional depth. So making an isometric drawing can be a little bit tricky, but there's really not a whole lot to it. It's actually easier than you might think. So there's just a couple key things you need to remember. One is down here in your tray of icons in the bottom right, you should see something here called Iso Draft. And if you click on that and you have your grid lines turned on, you should see right away that the angle of those grid lines changes, as well as the appearance of the cursor. The cursor, the horizontal red part of the cursor, is no longer horizontal, but it's at an isometric angle. And so what I recommend doing is, I'm going to turn on my snap mode. What I recommend students do when making isometric drawings is to turn on ortho mode. Ortho mode, when you're doing just regular orthographic drawings, makes it so that you can only draw horizontal or vertical lines. It won't allow you to make any kind of a diagonal line. Now when we switch over to the ISO mode, it only allows us to make lines that are parallel to this isometric angle, this isometric horizontal angle, or vertical lines. And I think that's one of the things that I see most students get into trouble with when they're doing isometric drawings, is these lines that are at this isometric angle. Okay, and this isometric angle would be 30 degrees above the horizontal. They make these lines crooked. And so the way you can avoid that is by turning on this ortho mode that is going to force you to make lines only in this isometric angle or in the vertical direction. And that's it. That's the only two directions that will allow you to make lines with ortho turned on. Okay, so we switch to ISO mode and we turn on ortho mode. I think that's helpful. So what you can do in ISO mode, I'm going to draw the side of a box. Okay, now if this was just a regular orthographic drawing, this would be square. But in an isometric drawing, it is skewed to look like a parallelogram. And so this is going to represent the left or front face of a box. Okay, so if we wanted to draw the top now, how do we do that? The top is going to have an isometric angle up and to the right. And right now, this ISO draft mode is not allowing us to draw in that direction. So you have to cycle between the three primary isometric faces. And you can do that with the F5 key on your keyboard. If you hit the F5 key, now we're in the top plane. And so this will allow me to draw the top face of my box, and I'll escape out of that. And then if you hit the F5 key again, it cycles to the third and final isoplane, which is going to allow me to draw the right side of the box. And so there I've drawn a cube. I've drawn an isometric cube. I've got the front, the top, and the sides of that box. And so again, the keys to doing this is ISO draft, turn this on. I recommend using ortho mode when you're doing these drawings. And then use the F5 key to cycle between the three primary isometric planes. So if you're doing an isometric drawing and let's say, I don't know, I want to draw another box, but it's just not letting me go in the direction I want to. I wanted to continue this line and this down and to the right direction. It just means that we're in the wrong isoplane. So if we just cycle, there we go, to a different isoplane, I can draw that, and then maybe I want to add another top. Again, I have to cycle through the isoplanes with the F5 key. Okay, click, 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 and back to the right side isoplane. Oops, let's try that again. There we go. So so it's really not as hard as it may seem at first. It's really just a matter of turning on the ISO draft mode and being sure that you're in the proper isoplane. So I'm going to try to keep this video short. I'm going to end this. Really, the only other thing you need to be aware of when doing an isometric drawing is how to make circles in an isometric drawing, but I'm going to leave that for the next video.